First story. Wife emotionally cheated with me and still doesn't want to end it with him. Long story short, she has been emotionally cheating with me with someone she met online. They both claim to love each other. He has a GF, and I found out 4 days ago. We've been together 14 years, married for 3. We have had sexual issues before, her child trauma and I have ED pretty badly, but working on that. The issue is, we have 3 kids, not financially well off, and she also is going through a suicidal depression as well. She has said many times she thinks she wants to end it with us, but then will claim she still loves me. It feels so hot and cold. This was before I found out as well. I've told her to end it with him now and cease contact. I don't agree with the phone checking, but asked for proof she ended it only, but she says she doesn't seem to want to as she likes the attention, and they will probably never go further than it is now. I just have no idea what to do right now. I feel like the obvious answer is to leave or take a break, but I just don't want to lose her or our lives together. It hurts. Update. Well, we took a break and I left the house for now. Had the big talk and she was feeling overwhelmed from her depression, and I'm still hurting. Her AP is emotional only. Doesn't even know his last name or ever even met, and gave her the ultimatum, me or him, giving her the week to decide as I met my parents. This hurts a lot. Update. Could a wife midlife crisis cause a loss of attraction from her husband? Long story short, my wife is 39. My wife has suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts on and off for many years. However, in the last few months it's gotten to be the worst it's ever been. Only really being happy when playing online games with her friends, which she says is a distraction. I love hearing her in there being happy, but obviously it's affecting me when she's not like that with me or our kids. She recently told me she doesn't know if she wants to be together, and that she loves me but not in love with me, and sees me more as a friend, but then sometimes wants to cuddle and likes my attention. And recently met someone online that she's fallen for, and he says he does as well. Though he is also married, but she has no interest in meeting. It's limerence and it's the attention she loves, but also doesn't want to hurt him, and that. I am willing to work on the marriage and forgive her for that. However, I've been looking at the common effects of a midlife crisis in women, and so many of the symptoms here are the same. Anxiety, depression, she's taking time off her job due to mental health, the cheating, excessive indecisiveness, lack of sleep. Now admittingly, it's not been the best in our 15 years, and bills and careers have not gone to plan. But we have always been pretty strong together. And currently I am away at my parents' in a break with her for the week, hoping that she'll miss me or get into a more regular routine. It's really hard sleeping at night though. Does anyone have any suggestions or experience with this? Right now I'm trying and failing no contact for the week and giving her space at home with the kids. But I am thinking of suggesting she goes to her family for a while to process and be on her own for a bit, away from us and rediscover herself, but obviously afraid that she'll want to break up when she gets back. The worst part is I don't know what I've even done. Edit. Well, today I went home to collect something for my son he needed for an after-school class, and when I saw her my heart hurt. I miss her a lot. But I asked her if she missed me and she said no. I've enjoyed the time apart. That hurts. It's only been 2 days though. Maybe it'll take a bit more time for her to miss me, I guess. But I'm starting to think it's over, and what my next step is, a longer break. We need to stay in the same house for now, but maybe just avoid each other and stay in different rooms? TBH, we really didn't go through the rules of this break well. Maybe a refocus and setting of those whilst avoiding each other in the house where we can may help. I need to go out more. I have no friends to even lean on right now. All I know, it's leg day in the gym tomorrow, something to look forward to. Update. About to come home after a week-long break from the marriage. What do? I 36 and my wife, 38, have been away on a 4-day break from each other due to her needed space and time to process our relationship with minimum contact. So we've been away from each other as much as possible this week with minimum contact. We have seen each other as we needed to for when I picked and dropped the kids off one evening, and I went complete no contact from Wednesday. I'm due back tomorrow, but at a loss of what to do when I come home. Do we talk straight away? Do I come home early in the morning and cuddle? No grand gestures, I know, but really anxious about this. Update. Just broke up with my wife. What the hell do I do next? So after her telling me she doesn't love me anymore and had fallen for a guy who she never wants to be with and she wasn't sure what she even wanted anymore, after a break we've split, at least for a trial separation. But we live together and I'm the main source of income with 4 kids and a few debts to pay. What the hell do I do? Update. Trial separation whilst in the same house. What rules should we use? Due to finance and kids, we've decided on a trial separation for a bit and see how we get on before deciding what we want to do next. I have told her that she needs to be more independent, get rid of this limerence affair partner and think about if she wants to end the relationship. I don't. But I don't think a separation in the same house is gonna work, as I guarantee lust will come over us in time. I can start to see it as she has hugged me before going to bed, for example. Right now we're being casual and sleeping separately, and I'm being nice to her whilst working on myself. Marito, keep the peace, to make her see what she'll be giving up, but not sure what exactly I can do now. Has this worked for anyone? If so, what should I do other than work on myself and carry on being a father? Update. Wife wants to stay in contact with EA partner and I can't seem to get her to consider the big picture. For context, I am fine with a loosely open relationship, but not for her with this guy, as she has feelings for him. One of our ground rules was to tell each other and end it before that happened, but she didn't do that. He lives 200 miles away, is married with kids, and it's pure limerence with them. She's admitted that they don't even have plans to meet at all yet, but they talk a lot. I'm shocked but kinda partly allowing it, as I know it's gonna fizzle out, and TBH she already said she loves me but not in love with me, and needs a break to process us. On the flip side, I know she needs to also end it with him to process that, but just won't do it. So far we're sleeping separately. I'm being nice but not doing things for her. That's mainly to keep it amicable for the kids. I've asked her to pay her side of the bills and to find a new job, as she was working with some of my family, and that's gone really sour as well. I am working on myself and asked the doctor for antidepressant meds, as my anxiety is not calming down. And I keep switching on her from okay to angry as my head is all over the place. The thing is, all she needs to do emo is to see the big picture and break both the depression fog and an affair fog, and we would likely start reconciliation. That I can feel would likely happen. But kinda at a loss of what to do in the meantime. She knows I want to get back together, and all I get from her is I don't know, but it doesn't feel like she's even thinking straight. ATM. Update. Has anyone else told the AP's spouse? How's did that go? I think I've managed to find a way to do it and break the affair limerence fog, but also I'm not sure if I even want to tell them. I think I should though, due to how their partner is also their carer, and it feels right to do so. Anyone else do this? Update. Partner has asked me to move out for a while she has a break and gets back to her normal life, but I think this is the end. I'm hesitant to move out at all, especially as she cheated, but maybe a temporary separation break may be good for us. I don't want to move the kids out, so being amicable. She doesn't want a divorce, but is feeling smothered and needs her space, and wants to feel normal again from her depression fog. And me being there is just reminding her of her own issues, and needs time to deal with them. I know. She should be the one to move, but I want to reconcile, and she does not know but is also not willing to go no contact with her app. So maybe it's for the best I go and live alone for a bit. My issue is that she won't want me back or miss me. But this depression and limerence are the major factors. She doesn't want to even be with him. She loves the attention and the way he makes her feel only. but I can't help shake the feeling it's a trap of sorts. Update. Temporary separation from my wife. What cheapish options would I have for 6 months to live? My parents is an obvious solution, but I kinda want my own space as well. This is to give us both some space to heal and decide if she wants to continue the marriage and sort her mental health issues out. I want to, but I am giving her the time and space. Update. Does anyone have any temporary separation success stories? Feeling a bit down about it all and hoping it's not the end, but also being real about the possibility it could be. Update. I think I'm making her suicidal. Following on from my other posts here. So we have been civil and have decided on a trial separation for 6 months, with set rules, and she has finally told me she's ending it with her AP, all good so far. She tells me she needs space and wants to feel single again for a while to see how she copes and finds herself a bit more. Now I get this, and honestly we may actually be over. Who knows though? She says she loves me but not currently in love with me, and I have heard her as well. I fully acknowledged what I've done and trying to rectify it. It is pretty much all money related, tbh, unpaid bills that got worse when I didn't have a job, etc. All being paid back now though. But she has been suffering with suicidal thoughts for years, thinking she's a failure or good enough and everyone hates her and that we'd all be better off without her. It's so hard to gray rock her ATM, and in her mind would likely reinforce these ideas. So I'm trying my hardest to keep her safe and happy-ish whilst also dealing with the emotional affair that was still ongoing to a point, but not as much as it was. This morning, for example, after we argued about AP, and whether or not she even wants to be with me last night, she got up and took the car for a drive. Turning her location off, I gave her some time, then rang her. She was looking up how to end it and was a mess. I managed to talk her back around and to come home. She said she doesn't want to talk about it all today and needs a break from it, so I'll give her that and take the kids out for the day. This is more of a vent, but I feel like me being around is making her worse, and that feeling for me is horrible. I love her so much, but I don't want to be the reason she ends it. Update. Need some advice on giving WW space and not smothering her. Basically, she currently feels like I'm smothering her and almost pressuring her to make a decision on us. I keep questioning her regarding the AP, and she is agreeing to slow down and cut contact with him. The real issue is that she's not sure about us and cannot see a big picture and is always seeing the negatives, not the positives, and has asked me for space to decloud her head. She is awaiting counseling, though, so I figure it's a waiting game for that whilst I work on myself. Anyone have any advice to help me apply this? The problem is Grey Rock 180 may not work here either due to her depression, suicidal thoughts, but I'm not sure. Update. Any 180/Grey Rock success stories? I'm trying my hardest to do this, but need some positive stories to help me see it through. Update. Can depression cause someone to fall out of love with their husband? Basically, my wife has long-term depression and suicidal thoughts, and a lot of stuff that's been going on with her this year has caused her to say that she loves me but not in love with me. This is obviously heartbreaking, but she also says she's hoping it's the depression but wants space and a break to think in clarity, but it may still lead to us taking a 6-month trial separation. I still love her dearly and want her to be happy, but me telling her that I love her is pushing her away. She is getting professional help, and she is going away for a week-long break, which does include another session. I'm not expecting anything major to come from it, of course, other than it may help her. Update. Finally found WWZA partner and his wife, even though she's ended it. Should I tell the wife? Basically, he covered his tracks well. I finally found him after weeks of trying. I knew I would. I'm that damn good at finding people, lol. Anyway, a few weeks ago I made a dummy FB account and found him and his wife on there. I can message her, but I'm having second thoughts. My wife is away on a NC break from us for her mental health. She needs space and time to go through several issues mentally, and I really do not want to add to it right now. She's back at the end of the month though, and I'm hoping she's feeling better. Also having therapy whilst away. Also thanks to Google I can track her whereabouts. She did travel close to where he lives, but her sister and friend live in the area she went to. As far as I know, the limerence she has is gone or going, and though there was still some contact between them, it still bothers me. Has anyone done this before? What the hell do I say? It has to remain anonymous on my part though. Second story. How a 4-year relationship ended in a night. My 28M fiancé, 28F, of 4.5 years recently called of our engagement after an argument about her college diploma. For context, we have been dating 4.5 years, and of that time we have been engaged 6 months. I proposed last January. From the day we met, she has been in school, and originally was living with her family while she did just that. No job, no other responsibilities, just school. That being said, as we progressed over time and she slowly began to spend less time at her family's house and more time with me, I became more responsible for our living expenses, as she had no income other than financial aid a few times a year. Since I am active duty military, my housing is covered for the most part depending on location and rank. And I lived in a 1-bed 1-bath that was easy to incorporate her into when she'd come and visit for the weekend or so. About a year later, I bought my first house and had roommates, which made finances much easier. Additionally, she eventually got a part-time job which helped her cover her own expenses better and even offer some help with bills. However, for the most part one was still majorly responsible for our expenses, as these part-time jobs never seemed to last. But I was okay with it because I loved her and believed I was helping her achieve her goal of a degree. Several years later, a few months ago, we were having a discussion about moving on to base housing. I sold my house prior to moving for my next tour and have since been living in apartments again. For anyone who is unfamiliar with military terms, base housing is just as it sounds, a house in a neighborhood built within the perimeter of the base. Since our time together, we got a dog and often wished he could have a yard again for him. Additionally, we had some real close friends who also lived on base, and it would make our very frequent weekend barbecues much more enjoyable if we were able to just walk home rather than drive 30 minutes, not to mention more space, a guest room for friends and family to visit, just overall a better situation. There was a catch, however. In order to be eligible for base housing, we would need to be legally married. Something that is fairly common in military relationships, a courthouse-style wedding, although not always for the best reasons. Since we had already been engaged half a year, and I was due to deploy later on this year, holding off any real wedding planning, alongside her graduate incoming in the fall, we had discussed the benefits of having a quick courthouse elopement prior to my deployment, so I could share my service benefits with her, healthcare, family services, etc. And a huge plus was the pay raise, about $1,000 extra a month, that we had talked about saving and using for our actual wedding, whenever we decided what we wanted to do. This wasn't the only time I had brought up progressing this way, as the benefits greatly outweighed any risks. We had plenty of dialogue in the past as well that led me to believe she felt the same way, and in fact wanted to be official just as much as I did, aside from all the things discussed above. I brought it up casually, as I usually would. A co-worker had just told me about some openings in some of the nicer houses on base. I told her about them and she was very interested. I then went on to remind her that in order for us to apply, we would first need to be legally married. For the most part, one was the only one who ever brought this up, and it never really bothered me because up to this point, I had no reason to believe she wanted anything different. Instead of seeming excited and willing to move forward, she began to complain about things like our marriage certificate being from a state she doesn't like. saying she'd now rather wait until we could go somewhere exotic and out of the country. This isn't something I was completely against, but it would defeat the purpose of all the reasons and benefits we had been discussing previously. I tried to reason with her, but I'll have to admit I was hurt. I was 100% willing to make this official and marry my best friend. Benefits aside, I had partially hoped she'd match my energy there. Frustrated and confused, I began to seek answers. I wanted to know why I was openly 100% committed, and it felt like I wasn't getting the same in return. I began to ask for reasons or explanations on why I was feeling this way, and if there was something I was missing that may be holding her back. I remember specifically asking about school, because it was made clear in the very beginning of our relationship that school was above all the most important thing to her. To be clear, I also supported this. So much to the point where if she needed books and couldn't afford them, I ordered them for her. Her school was 100% online, so I was paying monthly for absolute screaming internet for her. I would work full days and come home and prepare dinner, grocery shop, clean, etc. You guys get it. I was her #1 fan, and supported her and loved her though all the failed exams, birthdays and events missed because she's in a group meeting, and constantly promoted positivity and clarity regarding any uncertainty about her degree plan and future. I was there and did everything I could. I am confident in that even as I type this now. When we got to this topic, I'll cut right to it. I asked her if she was hesitant because of anything to do with school or her upcoming graduation. This is where she told me that she hadn't really thought much of it, but now that she does. She doesn't want to get married prior to her graduation, because she doesn't want my last name to be the one on her diploma. She told me that if it was that way, she felt as if it would take away from her and her accomplishments alone. She has been doubted before by other family, and if it did say her name it wouldn't feel as good to prove those doubters wrong. Something like that. This hit home, probably harder due to what felt like, rejection earlier on the legal marriage. All I was trying to do was ensure 1. She was taken care of while I'm away from home and can't help, and 2. Progress our relationship to what seemed like our next organic step and what had been mutually desired and agreed upon. This causes a huge argument, as she begins to label me as controlling for not seeing why it had to be her way. And we spent the entire night making attempts to show where we had been hurt by the other. Eventually we had made up, found common ground, enough to shower together and spent some close time in bed. Sadly, it wasn't enough. The next day she came home in tears, informed me that everything from last night wasn't sitting well with her, and that she was moving back home and calling off our engagement. I was handed back the ring and began to try to ask questions. What changed? I thought last night we were okay, etc. She told me she had nothing else to say to me, but through the tears and packing managed to look me in the eyes and say these last words. Even if I realized I'm making the biggest mistake of my life, it is something I am going to live with because there's no coming back. She left me and our dog that night after taking everything she cared enough about and packing it into her car. It's been a few months since this all went down. All of this time has been no contact. I think it also needs to be said that I never expected her to have my last name on her diploma. It was something I never even thought about until the heat of the argument. I think what really got me, what really cut deep, was hearing her say her and her accomplishments alone, while looking me dead in my face like I haven't done shit to help her get there. Again, all I've ever known her as was a student. I accepted the financial burden that was trying to build a life with someone in that stage of life. It was never about me expecting that, but I guess also I had believed that if the roles were reversed, if I were that student being taken care of single-handedly by this person I loved more than anything, said yes to marrying, knowing the sacrifices and difficulty of taking care of someone who can hardly maintain a part-time job, maybe I won't try to act like I did this on my own. I was very disoriented. I made almost every important decision thinking of how it could help us or benefit us. I think I set myself up for failure assuming I would have that same level of commitment in return. I also know I took it much harder given circumstances, but never would have guessed it would tear apart a 4-year relationship for wanting to feel appreciated and recognized for going above and beyond anyone else in her life to help her achieve her goal. Okay, wow, this gained way more attention than I ever thought it would. To the 400 of you who have taken the time to read this short novel. This is honestly as short as I could make it. Thanks Adhit, and even left some advice, guidance, or just kind words. You have no idea how therapeutic this has been. I have yet to get any professional help, but who needs it when the people of Reddit are this rad? A few things I'd like to address. 1. We both had talked and agreed upon the idea that we would eventually share a last name. It was not to be controlling, to show ownership, or anything crazy like that. I think we were both just traditionally oriented. And it was never really a thought or idea to have separate names until this night, when the diploma came into question. We used to name our non-existent kids together in bed during pillow talk. Never once was the last name anything other than mine. I never thought it was that way to be controlling or stuck in old times. People have different opinions and I respect them regardless. 2. I would have been fine with her keeping her last name on the diploma. It was not so much the topic, rather how it was addressed. I felt hurt and acted accordingly. After all I was trying to do was take better care of her while I'm deployed. This was going to be our second deployment together. We had openly agreed after the first one that I would never make her be a girlfriend for another deployment, promising more commitment to her from myself. I was trying to stay true to that promise, especially after the amount of time we had already been together. A proposal was long overdue. 3. Had she not been looking for a way out, I would agree that clearly there was an easy solution here. She gets her name on the diploma, it doesn't keep us from getting married. We progress and eventually this was a meaningless fight. The hard truth, that most of you are saying, is that it really had nothing to do with the reason she left. It was just the excuse. This has been overwhelmingly the common thought from most commenters. I think you all are right. Thank you for pushing the hard facts. A 28-year-old military man's engagement ended after a heated argument with his fiancée over her reluctance to get legally married before graduating. Despite supporting her financially and emotionally throughout her schooling, she expressed concerns about having his last name on her diploma, feeling it would detract from her personal achievements. This disagreement, combined with feelings of being unappreciated and labeled as controlling, led to a breakup. She moved out the next day, and they haven't had contact since.